to another live stream. Today is a beautiful day to exist, a beautiful day to be together, a beautiful day to share energy. I'm grateful. I am blessed to be able to do this live stream. Grateful to be alive right now, to feel the air, to feel the sun. And grateful to be able to have the technology to do this live. There's so many things to be grateful for, and I'm just swimming in it. I'm swimming in gratitude. So thank you for being here. These are my new glasses. They're like my creative glasses. So as you know, today I'm doing a live talking about the concept of introspection, chatting about what it means to find inner peace, and I wanted to bring on a very special guest to this live. But before I do that, I'm gonna burn some sage, clear the space, and I'm gonna pull a little card for you. A little card, pull a beautiful card for you. An affirmation. So I get asked a lot what butterfly cards I pull. These are my butterfly affirmation cards. And I'm gonna pull you an affirmation. I feel like somebody out there has an affirmation waiting for them. So cards, do you have an affirmation for me to bring? Oh, and it flew out. I make a positive difference in the world, even with my smile and words. How lovely. So your presence here has brought a smile to my face, and you've brought a smile to someone else's face. Nothing is impossible for the heart. Love will always find a way. I agree. Lately, I've been thinking about how we are all interconnected, and that my smile here can be sent anywhere in the world, and same with your smile. So without somebody even knowing, you simply being happy probably changed the day of somebody else in the world. You probably helped to bring a beautiful positive thought to somebody. You help somebody to make a more positive decision. So remember your power in the world and why it's important for you to maintain a positive energy space, not only for your well-being, but for the well-being of the world. Because trust me, I be feeling your energy too. When you're sad, I'm probably sad too. So let's all be happy together. And I think that we can heal as a community. Don't you agree? So without further ado, with that energy space in mind, I want to bring on my guest for the day. Let's see if this works. Sometimes I have to restart the live, and sometimes I don't. I don't think I have to. Hey! It worked so beautifully. I think so. Let's see. I think it worked. We may have to I'm not even manifesting it. It's gonna work. Add. Okay, we're waiting for our guest to join us. Our special guest of the day, she is the lightning. She is a ray of positive energy.
Hi!
Hello!
Hi, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit ungrounded, but I'm gonna eat some figs. And
okay.
I actually just saw you pulling a card, and I pulled a card too, because I woke up this morning in a bit of a funk, and my card says, I am courageous. I know that it is through fear that I grow and learn the most. And I thought that was really beautiful. So I thought I'd share.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm so
That's
grateful.
okay.
It's beautiful that you say that, because honestly, I woke up today feeling a little in a funk as well.
Yeah,
So
it
I feel like we
happens.
all have those moments.
Still.
It's important.
I think
Yes,
it's really important to kind of honor that flow as well. Like if you wake up feeling a bit crappy, just being like, okay, like I'm allowed to feel that. And the sooner you kind of like accept it and like meet it with more gentleness, the sooner it actually passes. Where if you meet it with like, I just want you to go away, it like stays and lingers and just gets like even harder, you know?
I agree. So, as you know, first off, I'm just so grateful. I feel like we've been always connected. I feel like it's like a past life connection or something. Like you're across the world, but I feel so like tapped and connected with you and your spirit. You have a very powerful org energy. And so I'm grateful for your time
Thank you.
here. Thank you for joining
Thank you
me.
so much.
So,
And I
oh,
kind
go
of,
ahead.
oh, sorry.
No,
I
go
kind
ahead.
of wanted to share as well.
Please.
I mean, I've already told you this, you already know this, but I just wanted to kind of like give everyone a backdrop of how I got introduced to you. I actually discovered one of your songs, Butterfly, in like 2018, and I used to do yoga to it every day, and it was like a really rough time in my life where I was like really deep in my depression, and it was such like a little light to kind of like have that in my morning routine, to have your beautiful voice and like your energy as well. So I thought I'd share that.
That's so meaningful. I'm happy that my energy could be transmuted through the music to you. I'm sending you love always,
Thank
always,
you.
always. Oh, what a beautiful lie. Let me turn up the music. So, as you know, one of the purposes, of the many purposes of this live is to talk about the concept of introspection and inner awareness, inner observation. And I think that now's a beautiful, aligned time to be speaking about this topic, because I feel like a lot of people are having the chance to reflect, being almost left alone with their thoughts, which is a beautiful but almost daunting experience sometimes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk through that with you because there's so much depth to the word introspection. So I guess to begin, when you hear the word introspection, what does that evoke in you? What does that mean to you?
To me, I guess it kind of means like self-inquiry, like going within yourself with a kind of intention of questioning and meeting the answers to all those questions with self-acceptance, with patience, with an awareness of love, and kind of like navigating and exploring your own inner world and the complete depths and vastness that you actually hold within you. And I don't know, when I hear the word introspection, it's kind of like I envision this beautiful scene of just like going inwards and then finding that you're actually also outwards. Like it's all interconnected in that way. Does that make sense?
Definitely, definitely. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. It's so true. It's an inner journey, but it has to be met with kindness. I love how you talked about kind of going back to the beginning where you said when you're going through those funks, you have to meet yourself with love to go through it. And like those darker, at times, introspective parts of you are just as important as the brighter parts of you. That's beautiful. So
Totally.
I want to ask, when you go within yourself and you kind of listen to yourself, what do the voices that you hear within you sound like? Or has that changed? Have the voices changed? Have the thoughts changed?
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's always changing. You always meet something different. But I find that going back, say, to my like teenage years, if I would be given a moment to sit with myself, it would just be like limiting belief, you are worthless, yada yada, like all flying at me like speed of light. And the more I kind of learned to sit with that and sit with my traumas and sit with, you know, everything that I've been through, the more it's like an opening. And I kind of did that heart action because I feel like the more I've gotten to see my inner world and to meet my inner world, the more I've actually realized that all of those limiting beliefs and all of those voices are actually love. Like when you when you deconstruct the layers, like for example, if I felt jealousy or something, for example, if I felt jealousy, you could like question yourself and say, okay, well, what's underneath this? And then you find out what's underneath this, and it might be like a memory of when you felt really unloved or something. And you realize that all fear-based emotions are you feeling a lack of love or worrying about having a lack of love. And what's at the core of that? The desire to love. So when you kind of like really step it down and really go within, all of it is actually love. And I kind of feel like that's where I'm at now. And I mean, even through like my shadowy periods or like when I wake up feeling like a piece of poo poo, you know, I can like kind of sit with that and be like, yeah, this is poo poo, but I'm aware that underneath the poo poo is like a little love pocket bubble. I don't know, but Does that answer the question? I went on a tangent.
Yeah. No, that totally answered the question. And that like opened up a new part in my brain too, to realize our essence really is love.
Yeah.
And I feel like I say that all the time, and I sometimes say things before I fully understand them just because I resonate with the vibration of it, you know?
Yeah.
So I've been saying, like, I am love, my essence is love.
Yeah.
And when you explain that, that clicked in my mind, like, oh, that's also why I am love, because everything I say is rooted in this desire to experience love, live love, to be love. So that's that's
As
profound. That's a big thought.
I really liked what you said before. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, I gotcha. I really liked what you said before about how sometimes you say things before you truly understand them. I experience the same thing, and I feel like that's what comes with almost like being a creative in a way, because you get these downloads and then you say it, you speak, and then you lock that in, and then it's like you're kind of like working towards getting to that point. Does that make sense? But I think that's a totally beautiful thing to be able to channel that wisdom down before you've really integrated and anchored it within your human experience.
Oh, that's so true. And I feel like I'm kind of going on a tangent a bit, but channeling is something I've been experiencing more than ever now because of this time I've been able to sit with myself. Like when a thought comes to mind, write it down, reflect on it. And I've been working on a lot of new creative projects, and a lot of the times I would realize in the past, the channeling would almost be so overwhelming for me, because I'm like, how am I going to get this idea out? I've never done this before. How do it's just like, is it really me? You start to overthink, and then when you have more space, you realize it's taking the first step. That's all that matters, and then everything unfolds for itself when you're trying new things, going on creative endeavors, or trusting like your intuition. I don't know. That's what channeling reminded me of, the importance of just trusting that inner voice within you and just moving, even if it feels bigger.
Totally. I feel like the introspection really helps with that too, because when you are creating from that space, that's when the imposter syndrome can come in hard. You can like really attach yourself to that imposter syndrome and that negative voice. But if you are consciously exercising self inquiry and asking, okay, why am I feeling this? That's when you can actually meet the layers underneath that. And then come back further to the love, and then go back. It's just like the love puzzle, isn't it? It's kind of, it's like, hello.
Woo! It's like this.
Like, you know, those like I don't know if you have them in the States. Oh gosh, I'm sweating. I don't know if you have them in the States. Those like
these, yes.
Those things that like go in the wind.
That's my energy. That's how I'm trying to be, just constantly in flow. I'm like, everything is fine always. It's meant to be. I wanted to kind of go back and ask you a question. You had just talked about going through those shadowy periods. Could you explain to people what shadow means, what it means? Yeah.
Okay, so the shadow that I kind of talk about is basically, it's based on the work of Carl Jung, who's a psychologist, and he said that shadow work is like the unseen parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we try to avoid, the parts of ourselves that are based in fear, the parts of ourselves that perhaps we don't want other people to meet, or we don't feel like are worthy of other people's love. So the shadow, for example, my shadow is very interconnected to my childhood trauma. It's very interconnected to worthlessness, and like all the different facets that kind of comes out with. And when I talk about going through shadow periods, I suppose what I mean is periods of your life where you identify as nothing but that shadow. And that's kind of what depression is when you identify with the shadow and you don't acknowledge the light as a part of you, whereas the light's still there. You know, the love is still there, but you're engrossed in this shadow experience, which is totally valid and all in divine timing, but you don't have awareness of the love that's also there. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I love how you explain that, to identify with the shadow. Yes. That reminds me, I was just on the phone with my dad, and my dad had told me, my dad just like throws proverbs randomly at me, and he was like, there is no shadow without the sun. And it's like when you're in kind of that shadow aspect, all you're doing, like you said, is looking down at the shadow, not realizing that in order for that shadow to even exist, the sun is constantly beaming on you, and all you have to do is turn towards the sun. And I was like, oh, that's a beautiful way to put it. Like both
Yeah.
aspects of you are still parts of you, but it's kind of your perception of which you are that dictates how you feel about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So when
And when we
you're
look at perception, what perception is based on is conditioning, you know? So then it's a whole nother layer of introspection of going back with it and then like deconditioning yourself. So
yeah,
yeah, that's really beautiful. I like that.
deconditioning, reparenting, realizing that we have the power to be our own parents, to be our own creators, to shift the way we feel about ourselves. When, like, I don't know, you have the voice in your head before was almost like your parents telling you, nagging you, or the people around you nagging you, telling you this is wrong, this is right. But as you grow older and you expand in your consciousness, you realize sometimes you're carrying the nagging of your parents and you're by yourself, and you are feeling a certain anxiety towards something because you're carrying something from your childhood, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something I've been like deconstructing for myself recently, realizing how much of the past I have the power now to reimagine, you know, in the future.
Yeah, and that's such powerful work as well because you're now paving the way for like your future generations, you know, like you're healing the ancestral wounds that your parents have carried with them.
Yes,
And then
yes.
you're creating a new, what's the word? Like a new, there's a word, but I can't pull it through right now.
I feel your word.
You know what I
Like a
mean?
new consciousness, a new trajectory for your whole family line. Like that's
Yes,
such
I
a
like that.
powerful thing to do. Such a
Yeah,
powerful thing to do. I
totally.
love that. Yeah, I feel like I just got out of a shadowy state too, maybe like a week and a half ago. I was like really in a dark place in my head, and it almost felt like I was stuck there, like I wasn't in my body. I was like, this, I just don't feel like I'm in my body. I don't feel like I'm me. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. I was identifying with the shadow, and I'm not the shadow. I am the sun, I am the light, but the shadow still exists, and it's
Yeah.
necessary for balance.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have moments where you go back into those shadowy periods? Is it like an ebb and flow? Is it a trigger?
Yeah.
Like, when do you notice?
So sometimes it's triggers, sometimes it's very clear triggers that I can link, sometimes it's triggers that I don't really understand and I can't link. Sometimes it just ebbs and flows, like perhaps with my hormones or my cycle, wherever the moon's at. And it's really actually a beautiful gift to be able to go into those spaces.
Yeah.
And I say that not to be like, everything is love and light, you know, but like to kind of say that the shadow holds such a potent key for all of us to go within and heal our own stuff. Like the shadow like shows you. It's like, okay, this is what you've been low key thinking the whole time. Here it is. Here it bloody is. Like, you know, and then you're like, oh, okay, shit. And because you're identifying with it, it's your whole world. So you need to focus on it. You need to work through it, which is such a gift. And as well,
Such a gift.
being in the shadow also sometimes causes us to come back to our faith and causes us to come back to trusting that everything's going to work out, because that is our last resort, which is also the most powerful resort. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that fully makes sense. My friends and I say that we elevate every time we go through those dark. Like before you level up, you kind of have to dip down a bit, and then you learn like, oh, these are all the things that I can improve within myself. And as long as you send love to those parts, you're not like, oh, why did I do this? Why am I thinking this? Then you elevate, and you're like a new evolved being. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's all about like gentleness and self-acceptance, which is I'm constantly relearning and re-remembering, because it's so easy to be hard on yourself, you know, especially when you've got work or deadlines or you're creative and you're like, I need to create, you know, it's like, but the reality is we're all just like humans flopping about trying our best. So there's no need to be like putting all this pressure on ourselves.
Truly. When you have those darker thoughts, do you have things that practices that help you to return to the light and to find more light within yourself?
Yeah, I've got like a very big, I call it my tool set. And it's like,
Mm.
I open up my toolbox and I've got like a spanner, I've got a drill, instead it's like sitting on the kitchen,
Yeah.
like all of that stuff. So my favorite practices are, um, cards are really good. For example, meditation is really good. Sometimes though, when you're in like such a deep shadow, it's really hard to sit with yourself. That's where guided meditations come in really handy, because you've got like someone helping you through it, guiding you through it. Energy healings, yoga is such a beautiful practice. But for me, honestly, dance movement has been the most potent and the most healing, because my shadow takes me out of my body. It causes me to dissociate. It stirs depersonalization, which means that it's like I find it hard to anchor within myself and anchor back into that love. So dance physically shifts energy out of my body and
Ayy.
pulls all of me back into like all of my cells. So dance has been super potent, and as well singing, which I don't kind of show people as much because I'm still working on like my shyness and stuff like that. But singing and language, or like random notes or humming, is so healing, because it allows your throat to open and your soul's voice to come through. And I actually got told to sing by a beautiful Reiki healer that I know and trust and love very deeply. And she was like, "Why aren't you singing? Like, you need to sing." Like,
It feels so
so
good.
it does feel so good. And it's just like, even if you sing like a freak, like even if you like pretend to do an opera, it's like silly and fun and joyous, and you're still like
Yeah.
letting it out. I think that for me, those shadowy periods are about not internalizing it, speaking it, being vulnerable, pushing it out, letting it out, showing the world that I feel it and that it's okay. And I think that is very healing. Of course, journaling and the more internal stuff is beautiful as well, like self-inquiry and meditation. Yeah, I got a big tool set. I don't know
No,
how
that
long to go on for, but yeah.
the more tools, the better. I feel like during this time period, I found more tools
Yeah.
to put into my toolbox. I love what you said. I love everything you said, but I really, really resonated what you said about movement, because I've been really trying to move more. And when I was going through my last kind of shadow period, one thing I did was I went out to the park and I literally just like jumped up and down and I just like was like flailing my arms, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I just need to let it out. Like there's just this weird feeling. I feel weird, and I just was just jumping and putting the intention that like every time I put my foot on the ground, the negativity or the darkness in me was going to be transmuted into the earth and become a flower, or become a tree, or become grass. And I was like, I'm like giving my energy to create love and light. And I did that for probably like 30 minutes, an hour. And then afterwards, I felt like I was like just vibrating or something. Everything felt like it just left my body, and I stretched and I felt release the tension in my neck, and I realized, oh, I had like sadness in my shoulders, and I had like sadness in my back and in my hips, and I just had to stretch that energy out, you know? And so
Yeah.
movement like is so powerful, so powerful. I'm like, I want to move now.
Same. As soon as you start talking about it, it's like,
It's like, woo. So fun. When you dance, do you listen to a certain type of music? Do you have a certain place you dance? Like, what is your...
Yeah, all types of music. Honestly, I dance to anything and everything under the sun. I dance to the bloody Nutcracker, Mozart. I dance to like metal.
Yeah.
I dance to like lo-fi. But one of my favorite genres to dance to is like really divine feminine voices and like beats, or like stomping, or I've got a couple of playlists on Spotify, like sensual music, and like it's really fun to actually work with different archetypes when you move. Like I also love doing like the inner child dance, which is what you were saying before, where you just like shake it out and you're like
yeah,
because you think about kids, they do the same thing. Like if they hear like, I don't know what kids listen to, but if they hear a kiddie music, they're like just fucking going for it. I think that there's so many different archetypes that I actually dance through. Like sometimes I dance like with my swords and I pull my swords out and literally cut energy off and I listen to like intense Viking music. It's
I
fun, right?
love that.
You banish things. It's so good.
Wow.
And then like I have my wild woman dance as well, and I also have like my so soft sensual movement, which kind of like brings me back into my body and makes me feel empowered and juicy. Yeah, so it's, I don't know how to answer that because it's just infinite.
It's whatever. It's whatever you feel. It's whatever.
It's whatever I feel. Yeah. Really go off what I feel too.
Ooh, sword. I'm gonna bring. Yo, tomorrow I'm going to the park and I'm just gonna go.
Pretend you're fencing. It's so much fun, and then you even do the elbows too. It's like, oh.
Oh,
I sometimes like let out a weird noise as well, and everyone at the beach is like, "What are you doing?" But I'm just
yeah, felt.
Yeah.
Nah, just being shameless and being like, I don't care who's watching because I'm gonna feel better after I do this, and if I feel better, the world's in a better place. I'm in a better place, you know. Constant reminder.
And at the end of the day as well, like even if you're being a freak and people are laughing at you, you're still making them happy, giving them something to laugh about.
They have something to smile about. So what a gift was offered through your healing. Wow. What a practice. I have so I have another question for you. Talking about like that inner awareness, do you feel like there was a moment where you became aware of yourself and you became aware of being aware? Does that make sense? Or was there a moment that awareness happened, or do you feel like you've always kind of heard that inner voice, understood self-awareness?
I want to ask you this question after I'm finished talking as well, because I feel like you have an experience. But basically for me, it's kind of been dropping in the entirety of my life. The first one that I remember was I had this dream when I was little, and I just remember it's one of my most vivid memories from my childhood. I was walking down the street and I was singing, and the song that I was singing I was just making up, and I was just like, look everyone, there's sunshine and there's flowers, and I was just like singing this random shit pretending to be like a Disney princess. I remember being so aware of like my own energy and the way that I was impacting people, and so that was probably the first time. Another time that came through that was pretty potent was one time when I was 16 and I was painting, and I had these crazy intense back pains, like crazy intense, going all up my spine, and I was painting and I just was fully channeling this painting, and I was just so like, what is going on? I'm just painting this, and I painted this woman's body, you know, which I didn't have that body yet, but it ended up looking exactly like my body now. Surrounded by planets. Her yoni was rooting into the earth, and there were like fungus coming out, and there was the sun and the moon. It was all celestial, and it was my favorite thing ever that I've ever created, probably. And I was just so into that and aware of that as well. And I think the definitely most potent time, I'm just going to name 3, but there's been drop-ins ever since I was little. The most potent time was on a meditation retreat, and I got so deep into myself that I saw my awareness, and I saw my awareness branching out of me in like little silvery threads, like little spider silk, and going out into all of the cosmos. And I felt it going out, and it was actually infinite. It never stopped. The energy never stopped. It was going and going and going. And you know how people always say like, you are the universe? Like that was when I fully embodied that and felt that. Like it was like my whole form stopped existing and just trickled out into everything. And I think that was the most special time for me. For sure.
I felt that. Thank you for sharing that story. I literally saw that picture in my mind. That's powerful.
It was just so crazy.
Wow. I'm trying to think. For me, I would say the first time I remember being very aware was probably when I was like 5 or 6. I remember standing in the mirror in the bathroom, and I was staring at myself in the mirror, and I was like, wait, what are these thoughts in my head? How can I have a voice speaking to me, but I'm not talking out loud? And then I started to be like, okay, then how am I being aware of what I'm thinking? And it was just like that really existential pull, but I was like 5 or 6, so I was like, this feels so weird, I don't know what's happening. And it got super existential, like, almost, I was in the mirror seeing myself, but I was like seeing myself from outside myself,
Yeah,
but within myself, if that makes sense. And
just all of it.
from, yeah, from that moment on, what I would do sometimes is I would just stare at things for a really long time until I became aware that it's weird. It's like you become aware that you're staring at something and then you start to notice everything as it is. I stopped naming like this is a wall, this is a chair, this is a table. Like it just is. And when I could get my brain to that point, I realized I was just getting into a very deep meditative
Yeah.
state. I think that's when I first realized awareness like that. And then later on, I would say I tried out this meditation. It was like a 10-minute meditation, and I hadn't really meditated much before, like maybe 4 years ago. And I remember I'd never felt so peaceful in my life before, so silent and so aware that I'm sitting here, but not being, what am I trying to say? I'm sitting here, but I'm not thinking about I'm sitting here. I'm just here. There's not much depth to it. I just am, you know? And I remember crying, and I started bawling while I was meditating. And in that moment, I was like, oh, that's how powerful my mind is. Like, I can create that much joy and presence. And since then, I've been like continually practicing and trying to, not even trying, just being in that place and existing in that place when I'm pulled there.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That fully dropped me. I actually resonated so much with what you were saying, especially like the staring at things. I did that I've never met anyone that's done that. I just thought I was crazy. Thank you.
You're not alone. I'm not alone. I thought I was alone.
No, I did it too. And like sometimes I'd stare at things for so long, they'd start to like shift or shake or like look different. It was so trippy. But I was just like little and just like fucking with it, thinking I could like move things with my mind or something.
Yeah. I was like, you are moving. No. And now my favorite thing to do, I love my favorite thing to do nowadays is like when I feel kind of like, oh, my brain is just like this information overload, like there's just too much happening. I go to the park and I just sit under a tree and I just watch the leaves, and all I think about, I don't even think about anything. I just exist and I watch the trees exist, and I feel like seeing plants and Mother Earth just exist helps to remind me like, oh, all I have to do is like sway with the wind, and that's all I have to do today is just do this, you know, or just lay here. And that's all the tree is doing, and the tree is so happy.
Do you feel like when you are in those states, you feel Earth's consciousness? Like you feel connected to that and like you're embodying that? Like plant consciousness even?
Yes, that's the word. I haven't been able to put a finger on it. Plant consciousness, definitely. Plants are all vibrating on like a being consciousness.
The next level.
They're just here. There's no future. There's no past. It's just constantly now. Do you feel connected to plant consciousness, to Mother Earth, to?
Yes, definitely. And I've had that ever since I was little as well. I remember I used to go to my local park and I just sit there and I just feel the grass. Like everyone was very like, this kid's like tapped. Feeling the grass and just like I could physically feel the energy transferring from me. And when I could get to those calm states, it was like I started, honestly, for lack of a better word, vibrating higher or being more open or being more loving. And that's why I kind of hold Mother Earth at the core of my heart and my beliefs, because I honestly feel like Mother Earth is just like the most loving, surrendered, kind and accepting consciousness that there is here. And I feel like plants are the most direct, or maybe fungus actually, are the most direct expression of that.
No, felt.
Yeah.
Fully felt. Oh, that's such a beautiful perspective. I agree. And then I think to be honored to consume the Mother Earth, to consume vegetables, to consume fruit, then allows us to vibrate at that frequency and to absorb the energy and the presence and groundedness of what's around us, and allow our bodies to vibrate at that frequency.
Like
on the topic of food, wait, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like a beautiful circle. Like, life. Just like, you give back, you take, you give back. You know?
Truly. Entropy and extropy. To give.
I've not heard that before.
My best friend Med, always says that entropy and extropy.
Entropy and extropy.
That was
That's me. So I can do my
so
research on
powerfully
it.
paused. I think
Yeah.
I said, oh, wait, let's think about that one. On the topic of food, actually, I wanted to ask, are there certain foods that you feel like help activate more light in you that you, yeah, just any foods that you like, any foods that are high vibrational to you in your body?
Um, for me, I definitely notice that I feel lighter when I eat like bananas or
Mm.
figs, or root vegetables help me ground, like potatoes, sweet potatoes, all of those beautiful things, even zucchinis and pumpkins, like stuff that grows on the ground, like helps me like be in my body. And
Yeah.
then like the more fruits and stuff are kind of like whoop, uplifting kind of. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I also feel like mushrooms are so interesting. Like
Mm.
they are so good for you, like filled with like B12, all the good stuff, and just
Mm.
like I watched this documentary actually recently. This is so off topic, but I'm like a bit obsessed
No,
with it.
let me know. I'm
Called
receiving.
Fantastic Fungi, and it's basically all about how the whole of Earth
Mm.
is covered in a network of mycelium, and mycelium is basically like fungus,
Mm.
like consciousness. And it's like
Whoa.
spread out all over the earth, and that's how mushrooms pop up when it rains, or that's how mushrooms, you know, sprout and spore, is because there's mycelium literally everywhere, and that's how the trees communicate to each other through the mycelium network.
Wait,
Anyways, it's
what?
a really cool documentary.
I
Do you
didn't
want
write
me
this
to
down.
type it?
Yes. Ooh, yes, please, so everybody can see.
There we go.
How?
Fantastic.
I love a good documentary.
It's really good.
I'm gonna go back
I
and
think
follow
you'd
that.
really
Actually,
love
wait,
it.
what is it called again? I'm gonna write it down too.
Fantastic Fungi.
Ooh, that's such a cute name.
I know. The guy in it is such a like cute guy as well. Like not like hot cute, but like he's a cute old man.
Like, aw.
Like he's squishy and like a teddy bear.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Fantastic fungi. Yes, food. So important, so nourishing. I've been recently, well, continuously healing my relationship with food and realizing how food can shift my energy, how much food can empower me, how much food can help me to vibrate at a higher frequency, but that comes with like really listening to my body. I love what you said about foods that grow on the ground being grounded or like help you to feel grounded. I think I know I'm gonna carry that with me in this next week. When I'm feeling like I need some grounding, I'm gonna go towards those root veggies. Love that, love that. I feel like one thing that helps me is when my brain feels kind of spacey, I eat foods with fats in them. I don't know, for me, like almonds really helps, like cashews, avocado really helps my brain to think more clearly. And every time I eat those foods, I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm ready to go. Whoa, I'm awake.
I love that. I feel like for me, food, I kind of like sometimes don't notice it, but when I do notice it is when I'm conscious of it, and that consciousness of what I'm consuming and what I'm eating is so healing, because one of my shadow things is that I used to kind of like binge eat to kind of like cope with all of these sensations that I was feeling, because you know I've always been very very sensitive, and like I just eat so I didn't have to feel what was going on in my belly, in my womb, in my tummy, like, so yeah.
That's so true. Same with me. Mindless eating, just eating, thinking that it makes me feel better, and then I don't feel as good, and then I think like, oh my god, I need to stop eating, and this is like unhealthy cycle that can form. But it's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to shift. That actually, like, ding ding ding, question in my mind. You're talking about being a sensitive person. What helps you with well, first I like to say, what does being sensitive mean to you? And then as you've grown up, like, how have you learned to balance your sensitivity and channel your sensitivity?
Okay, so sensitivity to me kind of means like being, I suppose, attuned to a lot of things that are going on, like picking up on energies. And for me, when I was young, I would kind of pick up on those and what's the word? Like take them on as my own, and like personalize them, like personalize everything that I was feeling. So, for example, if I felt shock or loss or grief or something, you know, a fear-based emotion, I would carry it and embody it with me rather than setting up boundaries to kind of discern, okay, this is what's going on in me and this is what's going on. And I feel like, I think the question was like, how have you learned to grow with that?
Oh,
Was that kind of like where we were
yeah.
going?
Sorry, I should do one question at a time. That was beautiful, though. That great definition.
Thank you.
I would say, how have you learned to channel your sensitivity and not be so receptive of other energies?
Yeah. Okay. So channel my sensitivity and use it as a strength, do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well
cool.
worded.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear on that because I was a little
Thank
bit
you.
cloudy in some forms of the communication. But
Oh, thank you.
channeling my sensitivity, I use it to meet myself with more softness, and with more gentleness. Like the way that I talk to myself is like very much like the way you talk to like a little baby. Like I'm kind of like, it's okay, sweetheart. Like you've got this. You're doing your best. It's gonna be okay. And I kind of, I suppose my sensitivity allows me to also recognize that within others and see where they are being um, really hard on themselves, or where they're kind of like not giving space. There we go, giving space to their sensitivities. And I find that that's where my sensitivity is a real strength, because I can kind of like sit with my friends or sit with people that, you know, I'm on a retreat with, and I can kind of be like, I can feel everything that they're feeling and I can understand that it's theirs. And I can also take myself to a perspective of love and then be like, okay, well, you're meeting yourself like this, but here is another new perspective and a new layer. Like, what could be underneath that? How could you meet this with more gentleness? How could you meet this with more love? Oh my God, such a tangent. Did that make sense?
No, no, girl, I was following. I was like, yes. Felt everything. Felt everything.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Yeah, sensitivity really opens you up to a deeper level of connection with others and a deeper level of empathy. And I think everyone is sensitive, honestly. And I feel like it's more
Yes.
about opening yourself up to that sensitivity. One thing I've been
Yeah.
learning recently is I've been working on this project, and the project has taken so much out of me in a beautiful way, and I've never cried so much. And at first I feel like an older part of me would have been like, oh, you're crying, you feel overwhelmed, you feel this and that means you can't handle it, that means you're weak, da, da, da. And I realized, no, it's not. It's just that I'm feeling the energies of all the people around me. I'm feeling the energy of this project, how profound it is, how incredible it is, and it's being channeled in different moving ways. And it's actually my strength to be able to cry and to be able to feel someone's energy so deeply that I can then channel it into art, or channel it into a song, or just channel it into movement, into
Yes.
sword fighting routine. Like,
Fencing on the
there's
beach.
so much power in that.
Yes.
I love.
Oh, can I drop in and say a few things?
Please.
Um, I liked what you said, and I feel like I want to add on what I was saying, in that the way that my sensitivity has become a strength is through vulnerability. So, like, we are all here having this human experience, and the main thing that we all crave is love and connection. Connection to earth, connection to ourselves, connection to other people. It's all just, you know, connection. And the thing that stops us from connecting with other people is shame. You know, the thing that stops us from connecting with other people is feeling like we're worthless, which is shame, which says I am bad, like you can't like me because I'm bad, which isn't true, you know. Thought that shit. But when you meet that with vulnerability, either internally, like being real with yourself and saying, okay, I feel these things, let's feel them, or externally talking to other people and saying, I'm going through this, or talking to a therapist, or talking to friends, or talking to strangers about it, you know. Vulnerability completely eliminates shame and allows that sensitivity to be honored, and allows you to connect with other people who are absolutely feeling that sensitivity, because everyone feels the same, you know. Maybe not everyone feels the same right now, or not everyone has had the same experience, but everyone goes through human emotions, everyone goes through human feelings. And the more that we talk about that, and the more that we are sensitive to those feelings and to those emotions, the more that other people feel less alone, and we'll feel less alone. There we go. I got it out.
No, channel that. That was such a powerful thing to say. It's so true. We're so connected, and the more we open up individually, the more we also open up collectively, and we
Yeah.
become more connected. We're reminded of emotion and how we are connected through our emotions and through that sensitivity within us. That's such. I have to like sit with that. That was beautiful. I'm gonna take a breath on that one. So. I love. Ooh, I wanted to ask you another question. You had talked about your retreat earlier when you were answering the question, and I'd love for you to share more about your retreats. What are the retreats? Yeah, I'm just gonna open the floor because that's one of the things that really connected me to you was seeing the retreat and wanting to be a
Yeah.
part of that. So
Yeah.
please share.
So retreats are pretty much like a little playground. So it's kind of like it's really hard to actually express the energy through and kind of communicate it to other people. You kind of have to be in the bubble, in the container of the retreat space. However, it's kind of like I run retreats for women aged 18 to 27, and it's like all of us are female and we all just connect. We get really vulnerable. We talk about our issues. We talk through everything that's going on. And I have a lot of practices and tools, and I have guest inspirational women coming in through as well, sharing their medicine. And we all kind of go through a deep internal process of introspection together as a community. And that community is so healing because you are able to see yourself in another. You're able to see your experiences and your like negative emotions in another woman, you know, as different experiences, obviously, but you're able to feel that connection, that thread. And I think the retreats are honestly my life work and my absolute passion. And I remember the first retreat I did, I was just so blown away. Like it's a lot of work. Like it's a lot of work to plan it all, to execute it, to, you know, open up that space and hold that container and hold that space. But it was so beautiful and so healing, and not just for the women, for me as well, because when they go through their healing process, their healing is also my healing because we are all connected. And it's like this beautiful,
Oh.
lack of a better word, like utopia, you know. And when we look at ancient civilizations, women would gather together. Women would gather together, you know, in the red tents when they were bleeding. They would gather together for women's purposes, for women's journeys, for sacred women's journeys. Men did it too. But when we gather as women, we create an energetic container in which we are able to experience that feminine human experience together and be connected in that way. Does that make sense? I'm trying to translate it from like weird
Totally.
ghost language to like human words.
Totally. No. It's so true. It reminds me of on my birthday, I went on a little retreat with my soul sisters up into the mountains, and we had such a soul opening moment together. And I realized like the power of just being surrounded by your sisters and what love that evokes and vulnerability that evokes in you. And I want to also thank you for putting your energy towards creating these retreats. Like as you were speaking about it, I feel like I felt the healing energies of all the people you've touched and all the people you've helped to open up through that. So profound work that you're doing, important work that you're doing. I'm grateful for
Thank you
you.
so
I'm
much.
grateful.
Likewise to you, the work you're doing is so beautiful. And I think it'd be a great idea to talk about the way music and the arts can also pave
Mm.
the way for that introspection and that connection, because the way that music can make you feel can bring you back to yourself. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what I've experienced with some of your songs. So honoring your work as well, honoring your energy that you put out there is really
Thank
special.
you. Music is so powerful. It really has the power to shift the, like you said, the energies of the people around you. I think of how one song alone can get a crowd of people to jump up and down or do a similar dance at the same time, or it can evoke tears in a whole crowd of people or in a singular person. And I feel so honored as an artist to like be able to make music and for people to play my music, which I don't even like say my music. I feel like it's like our music. It's just channeled through me. but play that
Music through
music in
your
their,
expression.
yeah. And to be able to like take that music into their home space and allowing me into their home space to heal, to open, to introspect, I don't, whatever my music can do for people, I just feel grateful to have that, but also grateful to have all the other music around me from other artists, having frequency music that helps to set my vibration in the right place. Like our ears, they're really taking in so much. Our senses, smells, like aromatherapy, like every sense is so connected to our well-being. So I want to close this live with a final question. Actually, I feel like I want to close this live with a question from the people. If
From
someone,
people.
if the people have
From
a
the people.
question, please. Well, we.
I'm loving this look.
Girl,
Big
I'm so
vibe.
sweaty too. Sweat is beautiful. Okay,
It
side
is.
note, sweating is so therapeutic. Like when I used to do hot yoga more consistently, like every time I did hot yoga, I was reborn after. It's so much energy gets sweated out through your
Yeah.
pores.
Yeah, you think about like, like running or sweat lodges or saunas, like it all does that thing. It's like it's another release, just like crying is a release, just like dancing and sword fighting and singing is a release, It's all cathartic.
Yes. So I fully agree. So final
Question from the
question.
people.
The question from the people. This question actually came up a bit earlier. Get my selenite out. So somebody had asked a beautiful question. They asked, "How are you not your emotions? So I guess one thing I try to say is I don't identify with my emotions. My emotions are not me, but I feel
Yeah.
my emotions. What do you think about emotions?"
I think that you like everything is a paradox and that you are and that you also aren't your emotions. Like you are wearing purple and you aren't wearing purple because you're naked underneath the purple. Does that make sense? Like your emotions are definitely energy and motion, but that energy is coming from somewhere either externally or internally that you're processing, that you're moving through, that you're understanding. So in a way, emotions are like a puzzle or trying to understand like a game or something and moving through them. You aren't your emotions, but you also are. And if you can be your emotions while also being aware of your emotions or being aware of what's underneath those emotions or being aware that you at the core are love and awareness and that the emotions are happening to you through you, I feel like that's super healing. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about an experience that I had recently. I was having like a panic attack, and sometimes during my panic attacks, perhaps like in 2017, 2018, when I would have had a panic attack, I would have been identified with it and gone into a state of depression and been like, oh my God, this is so painful. There's all these painful things within me, But during this panic attack, I was physically full body trembling, like having a trauma release. And as I was releasing that trauma, I was actually like saying to myself, that little gentle voice, like, this is okay. This is happening. You're allowed to be feeling this. And I think that little gentle voice was like an awareness of love, being like, okay, well, this panic attack is happening, but it's necessary for you to feel it and to be it for a little while, knowing that it's going to pass,
Yep. Oh, I love that. It is a paradox. You are your emotions, but you are not your emotions. And maybe the key is not to feel like negative emotions are bad. You have to feel bad about them. You shouldn't have them. Good emotions are good. You always have to feel good. You always have to be good. But it's like, I feel everything because I am them at the same time, but I'm not going to identify with them so deeply that I get lost in them.
Yes.
I'm like finding the words. It's like a feeling, It's like a...
Like you give up the faith that you're anything apart from that. And that can be with love-based emotions and with fear-based emotions. Like if you feel love-based emotions and you're like, oh my God, I'm love and light, and then you ignore your shadow, it's going to come and bite you in the butt, you know what I mean? But if you feel your shadow and you're like, this is all that is, that's already biting you in the butt. Does that make sense? Like
fully. You have to feel, it's like for you to know the sun exists, sometimes you have to see the shadow. To know the shadow exists, you have to see the sun. It's like allowing both parts of you, but when you feel dark, when you have those depressive thoughts come to mind, you don't identify with the negative aspect or like the opinion of it maybe.
Yeah.
And it's more just about just feeling it, just being it,
Yeah.
judging
I
it.
feel like something that's really helped me has been not identifying with the exclusivity of it.
Mm.
So like understanding that is what I'm feeling, but that's not the only thing that I ever feel. It's like the
Mm.
depression voice or the fear voice is like, this is all you'll feel ever, forever. Have
Oh,
fun, sweetie. But like, it's like, that's realistically not what's going on. And I think if
yeah.
you open it up from being like this tight box, that this is all that's going on,
Mm.
you know, and open
Mm.
yourself up, that's when everything else is like, hey, we're here, we're just the trees and we're chilling.
Yeah. We're just here. We're just breathing, being. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Allow your emotions to come, feel them, let them pass, let them flow. Just be in
Yeah.
flow with the emotions within you. I love that. I think that's a beautiful thought and a profound thought, a powerful
Yeah.
thought, because once you start to find peace with your emotions, I feel like you find peace with the world, and it
Yeah.
becomes easier to just like be every day. It's so fun. It becomes more and more fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. I feel like this is such a soul expanding conversation, mind expanding
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your energy with
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you for being brave and coming on here and sharing your truth. I feel like you touched so many people. I was touched by you. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I'm just such a reflection. Like, thank you so much
Reflection.
for having me. And yeah, it's been such an honor, and
Yay!
such a beautiful, beautiful, I don't know, conversation. It's just made me feel good
Yes.
things, and yeah, I feel really
Grateful.
honored by you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We shall chat soon, connect soon, but regardless, we're always tapped here. I feel like if I think about you, you're probably thinking about me.
Yeah.
And if you think about me, I'm probably thinking about you. Oh my gosh, my phone froze from the power
I love it.
of that statement. So, but okay, I love you. I'm sending you all my love. Have a beautiful rest of your day, a beautiful
Thanks, Angel.
existence.
Mm,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you so much. See you later, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, wait. Before we go, how can the people follow you? How can people stay updated with you?
Oh. So
Please
you can
share.
follow me on Instagram. It's Freya Haley. You can tap on me here, or you can find me later. I'm also on YouTube, which is also Freya Haley. And I have a little website which is all about my retreats and my offerings. I don't have any retreats at the moment because, you know, the Rona. But I
Divine
have some
timing.
beautiful things planned for exactly divine timing. I'm so grateful for the rest. I have some beautiful
Mm.
things planned for next year, and I'm also coming out with a self-love course, which is meant to be a secret, but you heard about it now. So that'll be coming, and that'll be announced, you know, on my Instagram and everywhere. So yeah, that's how you can stay connected with me on the
Thank
social.
you. Woo! Everybody, thank you for your energy. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Let's stay connected. I'm sending everybody love. I'm sending you love. Thank you again for sharing. Talk
Thank you.
soon.
Talk soon.
Woo. I'm sorry, girl. I'm really gonna sword fight this week. I'm excited.
I'm actually pumped for it too. I'm gonna have to do it. I can't wait.
Thank you again. We'll talk soon. Love you.
Sure. Bye.
Bye. So wholesome. That was beautiful. I had to get the mic out for that one. Thank you, everybody, again for joining me on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful live. Don't forget to follow Freya on all her platforms. Send support to our fellow light beings out here, to our fellow creatives, to our fellow just people. We're sending support to everybody. Again, thank you for your energy. I hope there was something. I hope there was something that you could take away from this live. I hope that it brought a smile to your face. Remember that when you smile, you're sending love out to the world, and you probably helped to heal somebody. You probably helped to send healing to somebody in the world who needed it. So always smile when it feels in flow for you. You're sending love to the world. I'm sending love to you. I'm sending my gratitude to you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Yes, I feel like that's all we have to say. I'm gonna take one final breath and end the live. Let's take a breath together. So much beauty in existence. I'm so happy. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. You are love. You are light.